Griff, California Governor Gavin Newsom accusing Florida Governor Ron DeSantis of potentially kidnapping migrants by flying them out to other states as the two political heavyweights battle it out over the growing border crisis. Joining us now is Republican Congressman from Tennessee and member of the House Ways and Means Committee, David Kustoff. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me this morning.
Sure. So one thing that stood out to me was Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser this week said, "We can't handle the influx of migrants. We're not a border town. We're not Texas." Your response to that?
I think Mayor Bowser should talk to President Biden and Vice President Harris, because they've messaged from the beginning of their campaign through when they were sworn into office that people were welcome here without going through the normal channels. You know, the bottom line is we're a nation of immigrants, and we all want people to come through the right way. But when the vice president and the president put out the welcome mat and encourage these migrant encounters, they've got to go somewhere. And, you know, you think about the numbers. Going back to October of last year, there have been 1.9 million migrant encounters at the border. And I think going back to the beginning of the Biden presidency, 3.2 million migrant encounters. So border security is national security. And if the president and the vice president are going to tell these people that they can come in without going through the lawful channels, these migrants have to go somewhere. So if Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott send them to Washington, D.C. and Martha's Vineyard, they've got to go somewhere if the administration is going to allow them to come through in the way they've allowed them to come through.
I think that's the point that these Republican governors are making is, you know, town of Eagle Pass or El Paso can't handle the influx of migrants either.
They can't. I've been to the border under President Trump and under President Biden, and the problem has gotten a lot worse with these migrant encounters, whether they are caught and then released, or whether they sneak past authorities. They've gotten a lot worse under Biden. Again, it's the message that Biden has sent out, and just from a practical perspective. You know, we talked a lot about border wall during Trump. We talked a lot about the border wall during Biden. On one of my visits under President Biden, when I was in the border in New Mexico, along the New Mexico border, you can literally walk along the wall and the wall ends. And that's true in a lot of places on the border. But what was so unique about this is that there were these steel beams that are the wall that go about 20 feet in the air. They were not in the ground. They were stacked on the ground. And what I was told is that the order to stop construction on the wall, it ended on January 20th, 2021, when Biden put his hand on the Bible. The administration said, stop building the wall. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of really simple, practical ways to curb this problem. And the administration, they've got a lead. And so when you got Vice President Harris in the last couple of days, or in the last week, saying that the border is secure, that's not a sincere answer. That's not an honest answer.
Right.
She needs to go and look for herself.
I think that a lot of people would say that hearing language like that feels at best like she doesn't know what's going on, or at worst like it's not true. But I want to turn to inflation, because that's the other issue that's really been sort of a thorn in this president's side. Has not been able to get that number down to a comfortable level. And yet this week, the White House held a celebration for the Inflation Reduction Act on the same day that a new inflation reading came in hotter than expected. You know, people said that is just tone deaf. It's out of touch. What are your thoughts?
Well, look, inflation is real, and it's been real for a long time. And it was self-inflicted. I mean, we've been under one-party rule, Biden, Schumer, and Pelosi, going back now to January of 2021. And these big bills that Biden has championed, like the American Rescue Plan, $1.9 trillion in new spending, what he called the Inflation Reduction Act, I think it's the Inflation Enhancement Act, that I voted against last month, almost $745 billion. This is new money that the federal government is printing and flushing into the economy. It can't do anything but have an inflationary effect. So when the consumer price index number that you talked about, when it came out a few days ago, 8.3%, higher than expected, it's real. And it translates here on the ground, because in my congressional district, when the main thing people want to talk about are the high prices of gas and energy and groceries and refrigerators and new cars and used cars, it's real, and that's what people are feeling at the level here. So the day that number comes out, the 8.3 inflationary number, and Biden is having a celebration at the White House where he's talking about that he's taming inflation, he's tone deaf, and their administration's out of it.
Not only does this bill, experts roundly agree, won't bring down inflation in the near term, but even in the long term, they've spent the deficit savings from this bill on student loan debt cancellation. So a lot to say there. All right, Congressman, thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday. Really appreciate your time. Hope to have you back again soon.
Thank you, Jackie.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.